beautiful bookish friends, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be doing my June reading wrap up. I think June was probably one of my best reading months so far, so we have a lot to talk about, so let's get started. The first book that I read was Nancy Drew Girl Detective graphic novel. I actually already unhauled this, so I don't have the book with me. I passed it on to my cousin, who's a little bit younger. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. It is a YA mystery. It is just a Nancy Drew sort of story. Takes you through, this big event happens, like a boat. I have number 6, sorry. Let me get my thoughts straight. The one I read, it was called The False Heir or The Fake Heir, and it was just kind of meh to me. Like, it's definitely meant for a younger audience, I think. I was going to try and get all of the Nancy Drew graphic novels, but after reading it and seeing how I was kind of disinterested in it, I ended up just passing it on to somebody else who might enjoy it more, for a little bit of a younger crowd. So it was a good story though. I thought the mystery was very cool. It was very cute. And it all kind of worked out. So yeah, 3 out of 5 on that one. So the next book I have is Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. This is the second book in the Delirium series that I started a little while ago. I did not like the first book that much at all. I unhauled it. I passed it on. This is the second book. It's 375 pages, so it wasn't a super long read for me, but this one I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This book redeems the first book so much. It is much more fast-paced. You jump right in. There's little to no world building in this one, which obviously being the second book, it doesn't really need it. But certain parts I just still wasn't vibing with. Like, it was a little predictable at parts and you could kind of see things coming. There were a few twists that I really liked, but this is YA dystopian. If you did not see my other video describing the series, it is YA dystopian. It was much more angsty and character driven, which is what I wanted from the first book. So I'm really happy that this one was better. It had better drama, and I think right now, just with everything going on, this one is a lot about the government and people rebelling and revolting, and there's a resistance and there's conspiracy, so it's very on point with things going on right now. But it runs in a dual timeline between the past and the present, and then they collide together towards the end of the book. So if you like books like that, this is a good one. Even though I did enjoy it, I am going to pass it on because I just don't see myself rereading it, because I enjoyed it, but I will finish the series, but I will pass this on to my cousin, who I also gave the first book to. Is an ebook and is The Scotch King. I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is an adult romance, and during this book it was time to play everyone's favorite game, is it love or Stockholm Syndrome? There was a lot in it that was just really questionable to me. Like certain scenes I was like, that's not consensual, but you're making it seem like it is. Certain parts I was just like, ugh. So I'm not a big fan of like the captor and captive falling in love relationship, which is what this whole series is, because it is 3 books. So yeah, it was better than some that I've seen or read before, but it definitely was not the best that I've read. There was, in the first one especially, there was a lot of violence and revenge driven stuff and like abuse, and like literally the girl gets like punched in the face a couple times. So if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, I would not read it. But if you're into that kind of romance novels, then this would be a good series for you. It's well written, it's just cringy. Next we have Things You Save in a Fire, which is one of my favorite covers that I have of any book. I love this blue. But this is an adult contemporary, and I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. This book was so good. A lot of people that I watched did not like the main character in this book, but I didn't see any problems with her. They said the whole tomboy thing was overdone, but I thought it was perfect, and she was just a unique character, very different than what we've been reading in a lot of contemporary adult books right now. But this is about a firefighter whose mother, who she basically has been estranged from since she was 16, has to move in with her mother to help her because her mother is sick. And so she's supposed to only be there for a year, but she joins a new firehouse and she has to prove herself because she's the only woman there. And it is just really good, like, firefighter drama. There's love, there's drama, it gets very dark at times. I will say it does address a lot of sexual assault from the main character's point of view, and it's not graphic or anything, but it does talk about it a lot and kind of how that can have lasting effects on you even decades after it's happened. So it was very interesting to read it and kind of see what would make her have flashbacks and be triggered and stuff like that. So it was very good. It's not a very long book. It was only like 310 pages, so it was a pretty quick read for me. I do really enjoy the love story in it. It felt very, I mean, it was very like movie sort of romance, but it was very well done. Like, I watched Chicago Fire and all that stuff, and this felt like it could be kind of an episode from that or a storyline from it. So very good. I enjoyed it, and this was my book of the month pick a couple months ago. So very good book. Next one is another Nancy Drew, and this is the Nancy Drew Files Volume 1. This is a bind-up of 3 Nancy Drew stories, completely new, from Carolyn Keene, who's the original author of Nancy Drew, like the original books. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's hard to give a full rating because each story was different, but overall I would say 4 out of 5. These are YA mysteries, and they do follow a timeline, so you do have to read the first one first and the second one second and the third one third in order to understand kind of some of the personal relationships going on in between. Like, if you miss stuff, you'll be confused as to why people are fighting and stuff. But the reason why I didn't give this 5 stars is because there was some repetition between the first story and the last story, which I was not really big on. And also her friends in the last 2 stories, I just feel were kind of written like they were really dumb. Like, in the first story, they're really smart, they're really helpful, and then the next 2 stories, they just seem kind of like they just lost their minds all of a sudden, like completely just lost all common sense. But then the other thing was that a lot of it's like, oh, Nancy's really rich and she has all these rich conveniences that just kind of get written in, and it's like, oh, well, that should make sense because she's rich. Or, yeah, she would have that because she's rich. So it's weird to read, and it's like, well, that wouldn't really happen. But yeah, overall 4 out of 5. It was really good, and I'm going to read the second one when I get around to it. We have a new contender for my top 10 favorite books of the year, and that is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. I finally got around to reading this after everybody has hyped it up so much on BookTube, especially earlier this year. And the end of last year when it came out. This was a 5 out of 5, no question for me. First of all, it was really short, 316 pages, which is perfect for contemporaries like this, I think. These contemporary romances. It is perfect length. But this is an adult romance. It takes place at a Renaissance fair in this really small town. Her life has fallen apart. The life that she's always wanted did not come to fruition the way she thought it would. So she is basically getting a fresh start with her sister and her niece signs up for a Renaissance fair, but she has to be there to be her chaperone. So she gets roped into being a wench in the bar, and it's just a really good, like, hate to love sort of situation. You don't know who she's gonna end up with. I mean, you kind of do, but you just because it's a romance. But you don't, like, there are other options in the book for her. This is in Maryland, not Maine. I just read it on the back of the book. I loved Emily's character. I love how she wasn't like, you know, oh, I have to be here, blah. She was like, you know, I'm gonna make the best of this situation. There are things I enjoy about this time period. I'm gonna dive in and get into this and really enjoy it. And then Simon's character, I kept saying he was playing a prince in the Renaissance fair. He is not. He is a pirate. So that was really cool. I thought his character was really well done, especially kind of the duality of him of being in character and out of character is super, super good. So yeah, great book. Definitely one of my contenders for like my favorite book of the year. And I read it in, this is one that I read in like 18 or 19 hours. Like I could not put it down. It was super duper good. I will say though, it does address some grief and some death and some sad stuff. And then I started The People We Hate at Weddings. I thought this was supposed to be like kind of funny and lighthearted, and I am only like 50 pages in, maybe not even. Oh, I'm 28 pages in. Yikes. And I don't know that I'll finish this or keep it. It's really dark so far. It's kind of weird. I'm not loving it. Like I thought it would be more about them being at the wedding. And I know it's only 28 pages in, but this just, I don't know. It's not giving me the feels that everyone said it would. I'm gonna keep reading it. I'm gonna give it a fair shot, at least to like 40 pages or maybe 100, and seeing this seems kind of slow. But I don't know that I'll hold on to this one when it's all said and done. But yeah, this will be in my July wrap up. And then I did not get to Happy and You Know It, Beach Read, or The Shadow Glass. I just did not have time to get to them, so I'll be reading these in July. And I also did not finish Kingdom Keepers, so we all can expect that from me by now. So the last book I read in June was The Scotch Queen. This is the second book in the Scotch series. So The Scotch King was the first one, Scotch Queen is the second one. I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. Again, it was an ebook adult romance. More rounds of Is It Love or Stockholm Syndrome. In this one, you get to see the relationship develop kind of in a different way. It's still that slave captor sort of situation, but it's very different, and there was some redeeming qualities to Crew, who is the main love interest in it. But again, I'm not invested in any one character. The main character kind of annoys me. The whole situation kind of annoys me. They drop this big truth bomb on you at some point, and everyone just like they just blow right past it. Kind of, it's like she finds out something, and it's something that should be like, oh, well, that means I can do this or I can do whatever, and she's just kind of like, eh, well, whatever. And it just read really weird to me. So yeah, I don't know if I'll read the third one. This one was really kind of boring. It felt like a filler book for sure, but we'll see. I feel like I'm really invested now, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is the end of my wrap up. Sorry, it was kind of weird and rambly and I couldn't get my words out of my mouth, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you want to check out my July TBR, that will be up tomorrow, which is very exciting, because I let my TBR mug pick all of my book choices this month, so it was a complete blind selection. So if you guys like this video or want to see more of me, make sure you subscribe, check out my booktube playlist down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.